Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode here at Master the NEC, where we talk about all things National Electrical Code. Look, today's episode, we're going to kind of talk about how to tab your code book. Now, if you're not familiar with tabbing, what tabbing is that you order some tabs, and they might be like this here with the different colors that you see here, and you get them, and it doesn't matter whether they're colors or not. But you get these tabs, and these tabs will have important sections or important articles on them, and you want to go through your code book and tab out. Okay, so as you see right here, I've got my code book handy. You can see right here in the little viewfinder here, and I'm going to kind of show you how to do these. Now, it's pretty simple. So this is not going to be a long video when it comes to tabbing, but when you get your tabs, you want to find the tab that is the index. Okay. And the index one, I don't know if I'll show in this camera. Again, it's a little blurry, but right here, it's the index tab, okay? Right here. Go to the index in your code book, okay? Very first page of the index. Now you take the tab. Now some tabs are better than others. They come off a little easier. These tabs, they're okay. All right, so you've got your tab. Now there's going to be lines on the tab, and there's lines that run with the tab, okay? You can see this in the picture, okay? So that you can stack your tabs. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing you want to do is peel off the backing, and that way you expose the tab. You with me? All right, now come down to the camera here on the book. Now we're at index, and we want to go all the way to the bottom of index. Now I like to come up maybe about 1/2 inch to start so that I don't hit it on the end. So you come up about 1/2 inch, and we're going to come up here and we find the edge of the page. Okay, find the edge of the page. And we want to line that edge with the black line here. And we'll come up about 1/2 inch, and I'll line it, and I'll just simply put the tab on there, press it down, pretty good. And now you've got your very first tab. Okay, so as you can see here, if I can catch it in the camera, if I can bring it up here and see it, you've actually got it tabbed now. Okay, so again, we got the camera. Let's see if I can make it a little closer. You can see it if it doesn't get blurred out here. There's my first tab, okay? Next thing you do is you work your way through to the front of the code book, one at a time. Now, the next one you're going to put is just going to be above where this tab leaves off. That's why you have these other lines. So the next one is Annex D in our tabs here, okay? So what you're going to do is move your code book up until you come to the beginning of Annex D. So we'll kind of move up. And the beginning of Annex D is right here, okay? And you can't see that, so I'll kind of move the camera a little bit so you can see. So this is Annex D, okay? So now I lay it back down so that I can see my index tab, and then I kind of look at how I want to go, and it's going to go right here. And so it's going to be just above the index. Of course, that's on a different page, right? So again, so I've lined it up, and again, you want to make sure that the black line here, right there, is at the edge of the page so that your tab actually sticks off the page. Okay, so I'm going to remove the backing, and now I'm going to make sure that when I place it, that it's not over top of the index. It's just up it can be right there at the beginning of where the end of the index starts, and then the new tab will go. So I'm going to simply put that one on there, and again, find the edge of the page so that you can get an eye of where it is, and then I'll place it down, and I'll push that one down. So now I've got two tabs, and again, they're lined up so that the moment that one ends, the other one starts, okay? And so then I go to the next one. It's just that simple. So the next tab is going to be Annex C. So I simply move my way forward, and I go to the very beginning of Annex C, okay? And we'll go to the very beginning of Annex C. All right, and once I find it, here we go. So I'm at the very beginning of Annex C, and I'll show you that here. We'll look at it. There you go. On the very beginning of Annex C. It might be blurry, but in your code book, it'll say Informative Annex C. All right, and so then I pre-test it again. I will put my page down to where I want to be. So I want it to be like that. next succession. So if you're looking straight down on it, you see that they don't overlap. It's just going to be right outside of the black line on the previous tab. So I see the edge of the page where I want to be, right there. Keep an eye on it. And I'm going to take the tab off. And then I'm going to make sure I got that page. And sometimes it helps if you move this one in a little bit so that you can see. Let's kind of figure out where you want to be. And then move it in a little bit. And then you can make sure that you put it right there where you need to be. And there you go. There you go. So again, you don't have to be perfect. You just don't want one on top of the other. Okay. You want to stagger them out so that they basically, how do I do this? One goes on, the other one goes even with it. The other one goes even. And you work your way all the way through the code book. Now, ultimately, what it's going to look like is this right here. So you see how, and of course the green ones aren't showing up because I'm using a green screen, by the way. But there you go. You get to kind of see how they alternate. So you simply go all the way up, right? And then once you get to the top, you go back to the next one. You start from the bottom and work your way up again. So we'll work our way all the way up this code book, and you'll be able to see what it's like as I do it. So from the magic of recording, we're going to speed it up and go on a little bit so that you can actually see what it's like to kind of move on a little further and what it's going to look like. All right, so here's an example where the 820, for example, the sticker for 820, the article happens to be on the other page. As you can see right here, it happens to be over here. But we're doing everything on the side over here. So here's a little tip for you. Even though the article might start on a different page, if the page is laying open, you want to put it on the right side because typically, you know, the back might have it on it as well. So you might have it on both sides. But again, usually it's backwards on the back side of it. Okay, so you want to be able to see it as you're reading the code book. So again, even though the article might start on the left page, you want to put it on the right page. Okay, so again, same as we did before, right here. Make sure it's edge. Find out where the alignment is. Pull it back a little bit, and right there. That's what we want to do with that, okay? Now, as you can see, I am all the way up to the top of the page. That's my first row. Remember what I said? All you're going to do is now, again, once you get to the very top, you know, staggering them up, as you can see here. Now, if you can see that very well, I've staggered them up so that none of them are overlapping in that row. Now, they're going to overlap as the code book is pretty thick and there's a number of tabs. But again, per row, we're just putting them right next to each tab, and that's why you start from the back. Now, all the way to the top, and I'm about, again, maybe a quarter of an inch from the top, however it works out. You could stop earlier if you want, but I'm about a quarter of an inch from the top. Now, I'm going to go over, and I'm going to the very next one. And the next one, in my case, is 690 for PV. So I just ended wind generation. So I'm going to go to 690. Here's 690. Now, again, 690 is over on this side. Okay, if you're looking at the screen here, this side, but we always want to label on this side because we want to be as you open up the book. So since it's right here and you're thinking, well, how do I get it on this side? Well, then you're actually going to put it on this page that's on this side. Okay, so again, next thing I'm doing, but I'm going to go back down here and start from the bottom again. So let's start from the bottom again. And once I'm down here, and again, another thing you can do is kind of push the page all the way to the edge when you're putting this down. Or again, like I said, you can pull it back and find out where the edge is. And that way you know you're on it because you can see the edge of the paper in contrast to the other page. However you want to do it. But now I'm going to come the same distance off I did before. And I'm going to put the first one for 690. And I'm going to stagger my way up. So I'm going to go to the next one. The next one is 680. So I'm going to go find 680. And wherever it starts right here on this page. So I'm going to put it on this side. And again, I flatten out the page so that I know that this page is all the way to the end. Or I could pull it back like this over the text, kind of pull over the text. That way you can kind of see what you're doing. But you want to, maybe one thing you can also do is put your finger at the edge of where this one ends so that when you pull it back, you can know that, okay, it needs to go right here. And then when you pull it back, you see that they don't overlap. Okay, and then you just go to the next one and you work your way all the way up that row. So let's kind of jump and work our way up that row, and then we'll come back. Okay, look, we're almost at the end of this row, this page, and I'm at the last one. So I want to give you, for this page, for this set anyway, and I want to give you a little tip. We're almost at, we've got room for one more right here that's going to leave us, you know, again, we don't want it all the way at the edge, but about 1/4 of an inch or whatever you feel comfortable. If you want to bring them in, it doesn't really matter, because I just don't want it to be right. I don't want a sticker to be right on the edge. Let me give you a couple little hints as well. Doesn't matter what tab it is. When you get these tabs, you're going to have lines on it, or there's going to be a certain area where the sticky part ends and the tab begins. Make sure that the sticky part isn't overhanging the end of the page. Otherwise, it's liable to stick to other pages. Okay. So in this case, there's a line here, and this line tells me, you know, if you can see it, there's a line right here. And in this case, it's the vertical line. That tells me where the sticker part ends. Okay. That's what needs to be right at the edge of the page. Okay, so there's no sticker part on this end, the colored end. So I pull this off and I've got the sticker. So when you look right here, I want to make sure that I'm at the very end of that page, that I'm not overlapping this one right here, and I want to make sure I'm at the end. So I'm either push the page out to the end, so and I get down so I can see it, and then make sure I push this one on right there, press it down. And now, as you can see, they don't overlap, but they're in succession, okay? And then what do? You start the next row, you go all the way to the bottom and work your way up again, just like we just did it a second ago. Again, so those are kind of some tips. You have a sticky portion. That's why they're called self-sticking, and they're considered permanent. Now, again, make sure that your jurisdiction allows you to tab your code book or mark in your code book or highlight in your code book. Again, need to check with your test center, whether it's PSI or some other exam, maybe ICC safe. You need to make sure you know what they'll let you do in your code book before you just go tabbing it. Now, if you're just using it in the field, you already have your license, then tab away. But again, check with your jurisdiction, because some jurisdictions won't let you bring your code book in. Some won't let you tab. So again, you need to check. Don't take it from me as saying that every jurisdiction or every test center allows you to tab. We're going to assume that you've checked that out for yourself prior, and that's why you're watching this video, okay? All right, so we're going to go on and start another row, and when I get to the end of that, we'll come right back. Again, no sense in boring you with that. Now, you might run into a situation where you've got 2 tabs on the same page. That's okay. They're still going to be staggered. So here's an example where I have a tab for 408 for panel boards and 406.12 for tamper-resistant receptacles. Now, they're both ends up falling on the same page, and that's okay. Just stack them on top of each other, just like you see right here. Put one right next to the other, perfectly fine, because both of the references are located here. Again, no problem. So again, if you ever run into that, it's fine, right there. So move on and keep on going to the next one. And the next one here is 406. So we're going to go to 406. It's right here on this page right here. We're going to put it on the right side. And we're just going to put it up here. Again, making sure you keep the sticky part over the page and not in the part that's on the tab. Okay, you don't want it to stick together. Anything to stick. Okay. 404 for switches. You just simply go on to the next one. 404 happens to be right here. So we're going to put it right here. Pull it off, line up the edge of the page, make sure it doesn't overlap the one you previously put, and right there, done. What's the next one? Next one is 400. So then you just go to 400. Remember, you're reading what's on the tab so that you know where to place it. So in this case, 400 is on this page over here, but we're going to put the tab up here, and this is going to be the second to the last one for this row. So I'm going to put this one here. And then the last one that I'll put on this row is going to be 393. So we're going to look for 393. There it is right here. So we're going to put it on the right side of our code book. Right here. Good to go. Now we're ready to go back and do what? Start at the bottom and move our way up again. So you don't need to watch all that. So the magic of speeding up We'll jump to it right now. Now, if you ever come to a tab that has two code references on it, they're sharing a reference, let's say. In this case, this tab has a 376 and 378. Well, 376 is this page, 378 is on this page. You always want to go to the first one. So 376 would be before 378, right? Obvious. So we're going to go to the 376 one, and that's where we're going to place it. And again, that's going to start down here at the bottom. So again, in case you ever run into a tab with two code references on it, pick the earlier one and go to it, put it on there, and just keep on getting it up the page. Okay, so we're at our very last tab, and our last tab is the introduction, Article 90. Okay, so we're going to put it through all the way go to where 90 starts right here, and we're going to find out where our last one left off, which was Article 100, and we're going to apply that last tab right there. So now our tab is fully tabbed. You see here in the camera on the display, everyone in succession. They do overlap, but when you're preparing for an exam and you're in the exam, you tend to splay out your code book when you're looking for something. So we'll splay it out, and then you get to see all the tabs. So then when you need to go, for example, 555 for marinas, then you put your finger on that tab, open the code book, and you're at marinas. So that's the tabs. Again, it's pretty simple. As you can see here, I have tabbed out this entire book, and it didn't take that long. Cumulatively, probably 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So that's how you tab your code book. And you can find it very beneficial for preparing for an exam, or actually in the real world where you need to have the different tabs and things like that to help you get to things quickly. But again, check with your area that you're testing in to make sure that they allow you to tab. Also, we're going to talk about highlighting a little bit. So let's get our highlighter. And let me give you some tips about highlighting. Let me give you an example. So let's say we were looking at non-metallic sheath cable, which is Article 334. We have a tab for that. So let's use our tabs. So we'll go in here and I'll look for 334, and we'll find it right there. We'll tab it and open it right there. So there we go. We're at 334. Now, if I get a question that's in a review or looking up, or I'm studying for an exam, and you say, okay, what are the questions about securing and supporting NMB, which is 334.30. But the question, if we're really dissecting a question like I usually recommend if you're over in our Fast Tracks program, and how you look up a question, I'm not going to highlight all of 334.30. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find it, which is right here, and I'm going to highlight the header, which is 334.30, okay, just like that. And then I'm going to highlight the things that are more important. Okay, what the question talked about. So in our Fast Tracks program, for example, we have what's called chevrons. And the chevrons tell you to go look up something in the code. Now, whatever you're using, you can do whatever method you want. But anytime you go look something up in the code, when you're looking for it, you're looking for something specific. So highlight what's specific. Don't highlight the entire section. It really gets cumbersome. Now, I only have one color, but again, a lot of times I recommend you use two colors, so you can do the header in one color and you can do the code information in another color. It really doesn't matter, but again, if you want to keep them separate. But here, since it's securing and supporting, and I know that typically it's asking that you secure it every 4.5 feet. So I see 4.5 feet right here, and so it says at intervals not exceeding 4.5 feet. And then you see it says, and within 12 inches of every cable entry. So I'm also going to highlight that as well, within 12 inches of every cable entry. And that part I'm going to highlight. And at the bottom, it says that the cable shall length between the cable entry and the closest cable support shall not exceed 18 inches. I'm going to highlight not exceed 18 inches. Okay, so not exceed 18 inches. Now, that is all I'm going to highlight. That's it. So that when I go looking for support, my mind is drawn to the header, which is securing and supporting, but then it's drawn to the areas that are more than likely what's going to be in the question. Now, that might not be all cases, but again, what I'm trying to do is keep you from over-highlighting. And when you over-highlight, everything gets lost. If I were to highlight that entire thing, nothing in there stands out to me. Now, as I start highlighting other things in here, like use is not permitted, maybe physical damage, because of other things that I'm studying in the code, then it looks like one big highlighted mess. And that's not what we want. So highlighting, be very targeted, highlight the information that's asking a question, highlight the most probable part of the paragraph that would be in a test question. At least it draws you there. Again, don't get overly highlighty on everything. Again, keep it very specific. It's kind of a tip that I can give you for highlighting, okay? So again, always make sure that you check with your jurisdiction or with your testing agency to see whether or not they'll let you highlight. In fact, in some jurisdictions, they'll even let you underline with permanent pen certain areas prior to testing. Like they might let you underline the 4.5 feet, or they might let you underline the 12 inches to draw extra attention. But again, you need to check with your test center. Usually if it's a PSI exam, they'll have a bulletin that tells you what you can and can't do. So keep that in mind. Don't say Paul told you could write in your code book. Don't say Paul told you could highlight. You might be able to, but you need to check with your state first. And then when you do, and they let you do it, go for it. Okay? A lot of them will let you put things like formulas in there. Okay? The state of Texas, for example, allows for you to write in your code book. And so in the front of this one, which is the 2017 edition, you'll see that we'll have all kinds of formulas written in here. Okay? Because they allow you to write in your code book. Some states will not. So again, make sure you check with your state that you're in. Okay? Hopefully that helps you with how to tab your code book. Again, start from the index, work your way forward, space them out so that they don't overlap, at least in the row that you're working with until you get to the next row. Then they're going to overlap. You can't help but the overlap, but it allows you to splay it out like this. As you can see here in the screen, it allows you to see all of them as you splay the code book out. And again, that's what you do. And again, it's okay. If you make a mistake, it's perfectly fine. Again, tabs are just there to help you. Don't make it stressful. Hopefully you got something out of that, folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.